Oh, yeah. He told the devil, oh, yeah. Won't you go out and bring me Lazarus? Well, I said, so Lazarus, won't you go out and bring me Lazarus? Or bring him dead or alive. Lord, Lord, bring him dead or alive.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our Black History Program 2021. Thank you so much for joining us. This afternoon, we're going to have a panelist of 5 individuals to share with us truth and transparency in our community. We know that we live at a unique time that now allows us to be transparent in how we deal with racism. How do we display honesty and a true desire to change things in our community? Well, we have a panel that represents a cross-section of our community. We have with us Hope Purcell. Hope is a 19-year-old. She is a student at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina, and she is majoring in elementary education. She is the daughter of Pastor Purcell and Lady Zalonda Purcell. We also have with us Patricia Murphy, a mother of 4 daughters, 3 grands, and an employee of North Carolina A&T State University in the Student Union. We have with us Mr. Sam Swift, and Sam is a member of Sanctuary Deliverance, where he is the organist. He is a wonderful young man who is experienced in racial profiling. In the police stop where at a red light, he was pulled over for hours. He also is a Dollar General where women of opposite color cleanse their purses. Racism is something that Sam has dealt with, and we are honored to have him to share his thoughts. We also have Mrs. Lucinda Johnson, who is a mother of 4 sons. She is an educator, a teacher of the week. She is a teacher at Penn Griffin School for the Arts in High Point, and we are so glad to have Lucinda with us as well. And we have Mr. D. Hector McCahern, who is a father of 3 sons and 1 daughter. He is a retired business professional, Wells Fargo Bank, and the Children's Home Society, and we're glad to have Hector McCahern. And finally, our moderator for the afternoon is a retired educator of Guilford County Schools. She is an author of 2 wonderful books for children, Money Matters for Kids and Money Does Grow on Trees. We're excited to have Mrs. Sandra Bartell. At this time, we will now prepare for our panelist discussion. Thank you so very much.
All right, thank you so much, Sister Brenda. I'm very excited and happy to be here today on this Black History program. And we have a panel of wonderful, distinguished guests with us. I'm impressed at the young lady. We have moms, we have single moms, we have males on this. And so as we talk about truth and transparency, while you are looking and listening, reflect on some of the instances, things that have happened to you. I'm excited about this time because this is a time for us to really speak up and to reach out to others. And we want to be proactive in this time instead of always being reactive. So with that in mind, I am going to ask questions. And if any of you do a aha moment, we may stay on that for a while. But I do have some questions. So please limit your comments about 3 minutes so that we can hear from everyone. So we're going to begin with the very first one. What is your definition of racism? And I think we can just jump in. Anyone want to start?
I'll start on that one. To me, the definition of racism is just embedded societal notion that, only simply because of your race that you're better than someone else, you're superior than someone else, you're greater than someone else.
I agree with that. I think racism is the idea that depending on your particular difference, race enters in. So to be perfectly honest, in this panel, African Americans have been discriminated against in our society for quite some time.
I think that we all have a very good definition of what racism is, and I think also that as a people, as Black people, we may have a very personal definition of what racism is to us especially. But basically, racism is when a group of people are marginalized and discriminated against. There's prejudice against them solely based on the color of their skin. African Americans, of course, when we think of racism, we usually think about racism against the African American because they have put us in this box of being different, being inferior, being not good enough, and definitely having to live the life of being subjected to prejudice, stereotypes. Oh, all Black people are good at this and all Black people are not good at that. They put you in this box. So it is definitely a discriminatory, inferior process that takes place. And so again, I think racism definitely is you marginalizing or putting a group of people in a certain stereotype or situation, and definitely impeding on their being successful in life.
Jumping off of that, to me, racism is the ignorant belief that one race is more supreme than the other, where that jumps into white supremacists, where you see all throughout the generations targeted towards Black people and also other people of color. But if you go back in history and you see the slaves, and just white supremacists have always been there, and it just seems that they're not going away, no matter what. So that's what racism is to me.
What I think racism is, it can also be, I'm looking at my notes. It's behavior or attitude, how you feel towards a certain person, regardless of the color. And as of this today, it's going on today as I speak.
Yeah, and I noticed everyone it is about perceived conceptions about others. And I think if we really just stop and think about it, we're more alike than we are different. Mm-hmm. So with all what you have just said, when was the last time you experienced racism, and how did you feel? How did you emotionally, personally? Have you ever been bold enough just to stand up to the people and say something? We're going to start with Hope, since she's in school. Yeah.
So the last time that I experienced racism was a couple of weeks ago when I got pulled over by the cops, actually. I was driving on North Church Street, and the cops saw me, and they saw my car, and they decided to pull me over, and they followed me all the way to my job, actually. Instead of just pulling me over there, they followed me. And when asked why did they pull me over, they just said they randomly pulled me over, and they were using an excuse of my tags and something because I drive a nice car, I guess, or just racially profiling me is basically the whole term behind it. And another time that I felt where I was racist was actually exactly a year ago at East Carolina. I was trying to go on the elevator and there was 4 white men, and they wouldn't let me into the elevator for some reason, and it was very uncomfortable and very awkward, and I wasn't gonna let them not let me get in an elevator, so I went in and I said, "Excuse me," and they just stood in front of the elevator keypad, and they wouldn't let me press the floor that I wanted to get to. So I said, "Excuse me, I need to get to the 4th floor." Mm-hmm. And then I pressed the button, and they just glared at me the entire way. And at the moment, I definitely felt small when there's four bigger white men glaring at me the whole time of the elevator. I definitely felt small, and I felt very uncomfortable, and I felt scared as well, because if they were to do something to me, there's no way I could have so much defend myself, because there are four huge men with country boots and all of that, just camouflage. They were just all looking at me and glaring at me and overpowering me, and there's only so much that I could do. So I definitely felt threatened.
Okay, so I want to play off on that a little bit. Where do you think you got your boldness from to almost insist and not walk away that you had a right to be in that elevator?
Well, I definitely had a right, because I paid the same tuition as them. I fought just as hard, if not even harder, to get to that school, because Black people have to work twice as hard to get just the littlest things that white people have, and that's their privilege that they have. So I fought very hard to get to that school, and I was going to fight to get in that elevator one way or another. I'm not going to let them claim that elevator. They don't pay for the elevator. That's not theirs. Their name's not on it. None of their names. And neither is mine, but it's my right to get on the elevator. That's what my ancestors fought for me to do. It's not 1950s. It's 2020. So.
Yes, and I thank you for your boldness, because times are different now, because I probably would have just said, okay, I'll wait for the next one. Okay, I'm going to turn to D. Hector McCaher, and he's in the corporate world. What about you?
Great question. And being at my age, I remember experiencing racism at a very early age, where bathrooms were designated for African American people, where we went to the movies, and if you went to the movies, you had to go in the back door and straight to the balcony. So racism back then, even though it's horrible now, and I'm certain we'll get to that, was such a bad feeling. Not so much, well, it was bad emotionally. Emotionally, going places, being in the back of the line, being treated a certain way, being looked at a certain way, and even being dismissed. I mean, you could be a racist in a family setting, and they didn't even know you. I mean, in other words, they didn't recognize you one way or the other. So that was probably emotionally trying on me. And unfortunately, at that time, I did not realize the degree to which I was being discriminated against. I mean, it was horrible then, and it's horrible now, but back then, kids 15, 16, 17 years old, I never thought of it the way I have come to think of it now.
So I'll say my first dealings and experience with realizing, racism. I'm from originally Detroit, Michigan, and there were some items in Greenfield Village where that's the Ford Motor Company's line to show how they produce the cars. Well, they were selling the Dukes of Hazzards, and they had the cars with the Confederate flags on the side of them, and my mother would never let me play with those cars. I never understood why, couldn't understand why, but growing up now and being a graduate of North Carolina A&T, I can tell the difference being down south and how out front, that look of, Confederacy, flying the flags, seeing them on houses, in cities and rural areas where, yes, in Detroit, it also is there, but like Deacon was saying, it was more institutionalized. It's kind of not as in your face, but it's just as many times I've been pulled over, and profiled in Detroit as well. They will say, I didn't see you with the seatbelt on. You can see a seatbelt through the back glass, but if they want to just try to smell something, hear something, catch you with something, or sabotage you with something, plant something. And here also in Rockingham, being pulled over just sitting at a red light, not really doing anything. But when, the cop pulls us over, he says, well, you might have been in and out of your lane a little bit, something that anyone would be doing, something that could be a reason for anyone to get pulled over. That's by your judgment. So a lot of the little, things, like you said, that can be considered profiling, probably, just to see, if there can be a quota met or a ticket given or some type of financial gain or just because they are one of the bad cops, one of the bad cops in a force, hopefully full of good ones.
If I was 20 or 30, I might say I haven't had that many life experiences to deal with racism, but because I'm over 50, I can tell you that I have more experience of racism than I can not tell you. So if we really wanted to say, it's really hard just to pick one thing, because each time you are a subject of racism, it is highly impactful to you as a person, as a mom, as a sister, as a daughter, just in your job setting. So the occasions of racism that I have experienced has definitely made me very cynical about society and people's intentions. And one of the things that I find most hurtful is that when the racism affected me, I can handle it. I'm the grown up, I'm the adult. But it is most impactful to me when it impacts my 4 sons, because those are my children, and I can't protect them against this horrible thing called racism. And my son is the same age as Hope, and he elected to go to the PWI. And at PWIs, you have to understand that not only are these scholars under a microscope because they are 1%, 5%, 10% of the population, but everything they do is highlighted. And not only is it for them, but it is for their families as well. My son is a collegiate athlete, and we were at one of his first game. His first football game as a collegiate athlete, and what an accomplishment it is to get there at a D1 school. We're there, and we're excited, and we are sitting right there ready for them to come out, and this older white couple, a man and a woman, came, and they said, you're in our seats. And it was me and my other 3 sons, my daughter-in-law, my sister. We were just really excited because this is a great moment for our family. And they demanded that we get up out of their seats. And I just looked at him, and I'm like, we're not leaving. You need to go on. We had made sure that we were in the right place. Because parents sit in a specific place in the stadium. We're sitting there, and all I kept thinking in my mind is that if this man put his hands on me, we're going to be all fighting out here in the stadium. And it's my son's first football game. We cannot go down like on channel 2, 8, and 12 like this. We can't. So I said to him, go get you know how they have the people in the stands, what are they called? The ushers? I don't want to say ushers, but go get them. They'll tell you we're in the right seats. So they went to get the guy, and the guy was like, is this your seat? Can I see your ticket? So we all pulled out our tickets. Like, sir, this is open seating. They can sit here. We got there an hour early so that we could be right on the front row so that when he came out, he could see us. We're excited. We got all our, purple and gold shirts on. Like, we're excited. And now this comes. Not only did this older white man and his wife demand that we leave, they began to get other white people in the stands. Because remember, we're at a PWI. It's about 10 of us there. Everybody else is white. It's just about 10 black people there. They started getting other people to solicit their help to make us leave. And my sister was sitting beside the guy. He kept elbowing her. And then my second son, he became so irate. He stood up, and I was like, no, we are not fighting it. Sit down. Can somebody go get the police? But then you're afraid to call the police because police are killing black people. You're afraid to even call the police. And we called them, and the policewoman, she was so rude. She was like, well, you're going to have to get out of his seat, and don't make us forcefully remove you. And tears began to well up in my eyes because I thought, I have no power over this situation. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm simply sitting here wanting to see the game. And the reality of the matter, when I sat around and saw this mob of people beginning to taunt us and call us names, they were calling us the N-word. It brought tears to my eyes. But we just all sat there. We didn't move, and we waited until then I told this police officer, go get your supervisor, because this is not right. This is not fair that you're doing this to us. And of course, they end up having like that person move somewhere else. We sat there the whole game and just was in fear that we would be dead or shot or killed or beat up or locked up down in Cullowhee, North Carolina. When the game was over and the police supervisor came and spoke with us, and he apologized for what had happened. He didn't know what had happened and that they gave us the wrong information. But because they gave us the wrong information, that wasn't my era. You know, I found it very disturbing that the whole mob, it was so easy for the mob to turn against these 6 black people in the group. My son was so hurt. Like, I thought, okay, we packing all your stuff and we're going right over to North Carolina A&T where you can see some black people, because we can't do this for 4 years, you know. But that is just one occasion of what it means to be the minority in a racist society. It is one occasion when you fear for your life by doing something just natural that everybody else was doing. You know, we wasn't doing anything differently than anyone else. But you can get killed for that. You can get beat up for that. You can get arrested for that. I was grateful that it did not end that way. I was grateful that we didn't end up being a hashtag. I was grateful that we didn't end up being on channel 2, 8, and 12 for, you know, getting in a fight. Because let me tell you, I'm like Hope. I have a right to be here just like everyone else.
Right.
My son worked very hard to get to this school. Mm-hmm. It is not free. Okay? So you can't demand that I give you something because you think your white privilege supersedes my ability to do regular things. You know, white privilege means just because you're white, you get to do this? No. And let me just say this. If that was me, if I was the black person that demanded that an old white lady and an old white man got out their seat, you can bet your last dollar in your penny, your purse right now that y'all would have had to come get me out of jail, okay? Because they would not have let me do that.
Lucinda, I know your son, the one who is at the school. Tell us, how did he, when he found out this story, which was after the game was over and everything, what was his reaction to that?
And and you know Roman, he's a very easygoing kind of person, and he sees the plus in everything. And at first he said, Mom, where were you guys sitting? Was that the right seat? I said, yes, son, it was. He says, and Mom, they just demanded that you get up? He could not believe it.
Yep.
He was in shock that that actually happened to us. You know this happens to other people, but he was shocked, and then he became angry that happened to us on his first day of being a collegiate athlete. And he demanded that his coach find out what happened, why the police officer who spoke to us and threatened us and was threatened to drag us out, that they apologized. And not only that, but the people, the security team or the usher people there, they didn't help us. They just let the mob, kind of taunt us and call us names, and they didn't do anything. And that's their job. Their job is to make sure that everything runs smoothly, and they didn't do it. So my son was very hurt by that. And again, that has not been the only occasion because he's at a PWI.
Exactly.
Every time it happens, it makes you want to say, let's just retreat. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing that I want to say about this. Oftentimes when we're subjected to racism, it is so overwhelming. It makes you feel so small and so low that you instinctively want to just not deal with it. You want to retreat. You want to go home. You don't want to deal with them. You put yourself in situations that it's all black people. It's all one, so that you don't have to have that confrontation. But that's not life. We should not have to do that to just live. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't have to do that.
Especially in the 21st century.
Especially.
All of that went on before. So, Patricia, what about now she has sons, you have daughters. So have you been in a situation where I'm going to spin this around a little different, put it where your daughters faced it, and you as a mom, what did you do?
Well, my oldest daughter, she works at LabCorp in Burlington. She had called me one day and she was crying. I was like, "What's wrong, Chelsea?" She said that she was in the bathroom and it was a white girl that came in there, and she had laid her purse on the countertop, and she said she was washing her hands, and she said the girl told her, she was talking about the perfume she had on, and she was like, "That perfume stink." And my daughter, she didn't say anything, and she was like, "Mom," she said, then when I turned around, she said the girl was just standing there looking at her, and she told her, "I'll smack your black," and she used a cuss word. And I said, "Chelsea," I said, "do I need to come to Burlington to LabCorp?" She said, "I don't drive." And I said, "Well, I'm going to call an Uber and I'll be there." She said, "No more, don't come. I said, "I'm on my way." So I didn't end up going. She called me back and she said that the supervisor came in there and she had told her what had happened. And then she said that the girl turned around and was getting ready to hit the supervisor. And she was a black lady. And she was like, "Y'all black people, y'all think y'all run stuff. Y'all ain't running me." She said, "This is my world." And I'm like, and they allowed her to still work there. But I think they ended up getting rid of her because she had like previous stuff on her record, I guess like counselings. So that was her last one. She ended up losing her job. Which, to be honest, she should have lost it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I know it is, and it is. I think we as African Americans, moms and dads, we do have to have the talk with our children, but let them know we have a proud history behind us. Okay, I'm going to go to this next question, and I'm sure everyone saw this on TV. How did you feel when George Floyd, when that police officer had his knee on his neck? So,
I see your hands.
Damn, man.
Stay in the car. Let me see your other hand.
I'm sorry.
Let me see your other hand.
Please,
Both hands.
do nothing.
Put your hands up right now. Let me see your other hand.
What we do?
Put your hand up there. Put your hand up there. Hands on the wheel. Keep your hands on the wheel.
I'm sorry, brother.
Who else is in the car?
This is my
Put your foot back in.
I'm so sorry. God dang, man. Man, I got shot the same way as I was before.
Okay, well, when I say let me see your hands, you put your hands up.
I'm so sorry,
You got them?
man. Dang, man.
Put your hands on top of your head.
Last time I got shot like that was I was
Hands on top of your head. Hands on top of your head. Step out of the vehicle and step away from me, all right? Step out and face away. Step out and face away.
Okay, Officer, please don't shoot me. Please, man.
I'm not going to shoot you. Step out and face
No,
away.
I'm going to get out of here, man. Please don't shoot me, man. Please, man. I just lost my mom, man.
Step out and face away. Step out and face away.
Please don't shoot me, Mr. Officer. Please. Don't shoot me, man.
Step out and face away.
You're not shooting me, man?
I'm not shooting you. Step out and face away.
Okay. Please, man. Please. I didn't know, man.
Get out of the car.
I didn't know, Mr. Officer. I just want to talk to you, man. Please, let me talk to you, please.
You ain't listening to nothing we're saying, so we're not going to listen to nothing you're saying.
Can you watch that car? Just make sure no one goes in it.
I hear you, but you are going to face the door right now.
Listen up. Stop.
I'll do anything. Anything y'all tell me to do, man. I'm not a resistor, man. I'm not. You can ask him. He know me here,
Check
though.
that side.
God, man, I'm gonna do nothing like that, y'all. Why is it going on like this? Look at my wrist, Mr. Officer. I'm not that kind of guy.
The other side.
Mr. Officer, I'm not that kind of guy.
Stop.
You please. I'm not that kind of guy, Mr. Officer. Please.
Face away.
Please, man. Don't leave me by myself, man. Please. I'm just claustrophobic. That's it.
Oh, you're still going in the car.
Anything sharp on you?
I won't do nothing to hurt y'all, Mr. Officer. No, sir. Why? No, I don't have nothing. Why
Why y'all doing me like that, Mr. Officer? Please crack it for me and stuff, man. I am claustrophobic for real, Mr. Officer.
You got him?
Can you please crack it for me, please?
Yes, I'll
Remember my
crack
name.
it.
Stay with me, man.
I will.
Please stay with me, man. Thank you. God, man. I didn't know I was going to happen, man. Please, man. I just want my hand free. I don't want none of y'all, man. Nothing.
You got it? Inside in your pocket real quick on your shirt?
I'm listening. And I understand that people do stuff.
All right, he's good. This guns, whatever. There's nothing worth it.
Okay.
Grab a seat.
Okay.
I'll roll the windows down, okay?
Please, man. Please don't do Take a seat. I'm going in, Mr. Officer. I'm going to go in. No, you're not. I gotta go in. Take a seat.
Grab a seat, man.
Why y'all don't believe me, Mr. Officer? Take a seat. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy, man. Take a seat. Y'all, I'm gonna die here. Take a seat. I'm gonna die, man. You need to take a seat right now.
And I just had COVID, man. I don't want to go back to that.
Okay, I'll roll the windows
No.
down. Hey, listen.
Dang, man.
Listen.
I'm not that kind of guy.
I'll roll the windows down and
Please,
you pull your
man.
legs in, all right? I'll
Y'all
put the air on.
stop. Look at that. Look at that.
Not even listening.
Look at it. Look at it.
We can fix
Look.
it, but not while you're standing out here.
Okay, man. God, y'all do me bad, man. Man, I don't want to try to win. I don't want to try to win. I don't want to win. I'm claustrophobic. I'm claustrophobic. I got anxiety. I don't want to do nothing to them.
I'll roll the window down.
Man, I'm scared. When I start breathing, it's gonna go off on me, man.
Pull your legs in.
Okay. Let me count to three. Let me count to three and I'm going in. Please. I'm not trying to win. I get on the ground, anything. I can't stand this, man. He know it.
Yes, you get in this car. We can talk.
I'm claustrophobic.
I'm hearing you, but you're not working with me.
God, I'm claustrophobic, man.
Slide your butt over here. I'm going to pull you in.
Get in the car.
In the front, please.
No, you're not getting in the
I'm
front.
claustrophobic, so
Get in the car.
Okay, man, okay. I'm not a bad guy, man.
Get in the car.
I'm not a bad guy. Man. My nose. Please, officer. Please, please.
Take a seat.
Please, man. Please. No.
Take a seat.
I can't choke. I can't breathe, officer. Please.
Fine.
My wrist, man. Please. I can't take this, man. I can't. I'm gonna lay on the ground.
Get in the squad.
I'm gonna lay on the ground. I'm going down.
Get in the squad.
I'm not breathing.
Bro, you look down a heart attack.
I know I can't breathe.
New day, and it has been a painful night of violence and protest in Minneapolis. At this hour, fires are still burning on the south side of Minneapolis after protesters took to the streets to demand justice for George Floyd, the unarmed, handcuffed black
as
man.
black men, we've seen a lot of stuff as far as murders and people being killed. Right?
I am so tired of watching the news. Watching my brothers get hurt and spat at, gawking at the 8-minute clip of that knee on that neck. I have to process this news for a sec. Maybe CNN never gets a rest, but black boys like me are afraid of the word arrest. To the people of this church, do you think violence is the right answer to honor this corpse called a torn storm? I have to ask a question. What's his name? Come on now. What's his name? What's his name? Our brothers and sisters of the church called love. What's his name? No matter what race and culture you are from, what's his name? To our pastor and evangelicals alike, what's his name? To the new friends and neighbors of our church, what's his name? His name was George Floyd. The moment he shared his breath to the world, the moment he would graduate from high school, the moment he found his first job, he shared his life to the world. He spoke in peace where peace became difficulty. He showed his life to his friends and family. He made an impact by not throwing stones at Target stores. He opened new lights and opened doors. We shall not remember him as a statistic. We shall not ruin people's lives with our anger. My mom told me that maybe it was his time because life is like milk. It has an expiration date. Death doesn't care about your basketball games, your job, your work that needs paving, your house that needs sold. Maybe it was his time. His corpse never wanted us to break into that gas station, to loot that Kroger, and to rob someone else. We need to honor his legacy. What's his name?
How did you feel when George Floyd, when that police officer had his knee on his neck? So as moms, and I know you as men, I mean, it was just really unbelievable. But Hope, as a young person, I'll start with you first. How did you feel?
The first emotion that I felt was confusion. I just felt very confused because as a police officer, you have one duty, and that's to help the people, no matter the race, no matter the ethnicity, no matter the religion, no matter anything that separates us. You are meant to protect, serve, and it really angered me as well, because I imagined my brother in a situation like that, where you literally feel your life be stripped away from you. And then to go online and you see all these comments of why the police officer was in the right to do what he did. And it broke my heart, because he also was a father. He had a daughter. And I had to think, she's gonna grow up and she's gonna see that video. She's gonna be known as George Floyd's daughter, you know? That's not something that you want to be known for. My dad was killed on national television, and everybody knows. My dad was killed by a racist police officer, and everybody knows. You know, I wouldn't want to be known for that, and it broke my heart. And then to see at the Capitol building a couple weeks ago, to see people reenacting that was disgusting, absolutely disgusting. And just to even go to the Capitol and to break in was a whole different, that's another type of privilege, because you didn't see no cops pulling out their guns there. You didn't see no tear gas. You didn't see none of that. You didn't see no acts of violence towards those terrorists in our country. But you saw all of that when it was the Black Lives Matter protest against the George Floyd and the Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and all these other things. And it just angers me, because it's the double standard that we live in. And I'm so thankful that I wasn't in school at the time. Because I really am. I'm so thankful that I wasn't there, because the first white person I saw, I would have gone after them. Well, not gone after, but I would have let them know. Yeah. And that's one thing that I am thankful for today, because of that lesson, that sad lesson that I had to learn, and other people and my friends. I have to know that when I get pulled over by the cops, the first thing that I have to know is that person can kill me. No matter what the situation is, if I was speeding, if I was doing nothing in the wrong, I could be killed. And George, he didn't deserve to die. He didn't deserve to die at all. He did not deserve to die. He didn't do anything that was worth dying for. When there are white men out here, if we look at the white men that went into those schools.
You're talking about the young guy that went into the church.
Oh, was that the church?
Yeah, that was the church. He did go to Burger King.
They got him Burger King after that.
Yes.
And it just upsets me, because George Floyd died over one little mistake, but this man killed all those people.
Yeah.
And that mistake was even worth for him losing his life. But it's just the double standard, and it's the privilege that white people have, and they don't even realize it. Exactly. They don't even realize that they have this privilege.
Yeah, and you also brought up Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. So, D. Hector, from Breonna, how did you feel? You have a beautiful daughter. How did you feel?
Unlike Hope, she said she was confused at first, I was very, very angry. And if it had not been for my 3 boys that I think about what's going to happen to them as they go along, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, I have never seen, let's see, at 2 minutes, I may have said, okay, they've been doing this all along. 2 minutes on somebody's neck, that's just the way they are. But when you get to 8 minutes, 8 minutes, 46 seconds, I said, oh my God, oh my God. And I was livid, if I can say that. And I prayed very, very hard to be guided in that time. And the poor lady, Brianna, is another one that just, from my daughter's standpoint, just blows my mind. And it gets clearer and clearer to me. It doesn't matter, quite frankly, what sex you are anymore. I mean, if you are African American in this instance, you are set to be discriminated against. And how you go about handling that is our challenge. Yes. What do you do? What do you do when you see something like that to get yourself in the right place, particularly if you are Christians, as we all are? So, yeah, that really, really, really got me. Really did. Really did.
Okay, Sam, with the Ahmaud Arbery, do you run? Are you a jogger? Do you like going running and stuff?
I was a former athlete in high school. Yeah, that in a sense is just, that was the Georgia, and they pulled, literally manhunted him down going for a job and trying to say that the construction site was justification for it. I mean, each and every one of those instances are sickening. And me being a black man, I cannot imagine in my own neighborhood, knowing where I am, not being lost, not asking for help, but literally in my own familiar neighborhood, being killed in cold blood like that. And I believe the 2 were persecuted. They did receive justice. And in Breonna Taylor's case, my wife and I saw that verdict at the end, and we were both so angry and under the impression. And she quoted something that I'll never forget. She said that they served justice more to the adjacent apartment than they did to a life of that young girl, because the way that they rectified that situation was because of the reckless shooting, and the people in the apartment were the ones they were protecting by having a law saying that they broke for reckless shooting when there was nothing done because of her. So it's just, time and time again, we're seeing this, especially now more than, more now of late. It just seems to be, month after month, after week, and it's just like, are we going backwards? You said you remembered literal laws that were racist.
Yep.
I'm wondering. I'm beginning to wonder. How are we going to do more of what we did in November when we put an election where young people were protesting in the streets, and our voices were heard? Young people went to the polls and our voices were heard. Can we continue to make a positive indentation in this so negative history toward so many people of color?
It really wears you out.
It really does, though.
It makes you tired.
Yes.
You just, everything that we have to do requires another level. And it really gets to a point that you just get, I'm tired.
Right.
But it also makes you wonder how many more of these activities and these things have happened to people without the camera. There's so many lives that were taken, so many lives that have been taken by the police or just by racial racist people without it being televised or without any justice being served, without it being recorded. So many people have fallen into the hands of police brutality where their lives have been lost, and there's nothing anyone could do about it because it was he says or she says. And,
Hope, I was thinking the same thing that my grandma used to say, the devil don't have new tricks, he just has different faces. And so with racism, it's nothing different. It is just now being televised.
Right.
Hunting someone down and killing them is what they did for sport. What they did for Sunday afternoon entertainment was to kill black people, hang them up, string them up, skin them. That was their entertainment. So definitely are the acts of police brutality and racism up front and in the public's eye because of social media platforms? Absolutely. Is it new? Absolutely not. The devil don't have no new tricks, but different faces. And the thing is that it's been allowed, it's been permitted, it's been encouraged. The ex-president, y'all ex-president, not my ex-president, but y'all ex-president, incited an insurrection. An insurrection on the U.S. Capitol. The U.S. Capitol. It is amazing. It is disgusting that we act like this is not the United States. Yes, it is. It has always been since the onset of time. It's been since you brought the slaves from all the way from Africa and put them into slavery. It has been this way since you came over on the Mayflower and said, this is our land, even though the Native American indigenous people were already here. This is not new. It's just that we got smartphones and we got cameras and everybody has social media platforms. This is not new. It's been going on.
Let me ask a question then. What do you think happened that somehow allows all of what happens is all of a sudden all right?
The president.
Well, I don't want to. I think the president. Let's
the president.
Not our president. The ex-president.
The president.
Number 45. What he did was, because they gave him as the head of the free world, it gave them a door. They're saying, oh, we've been this way. This evil has been in my heart my whole life. I've been taught it. I've raised it. I raised my kids to do it. My great-grandmama told me this. We got the vintage Ku Klux Klan suit in our closet, and we're going to hand it down to the next generation. It is not that it has not been taking place, but your ex-president, y'all ex-president, gave them a door to say, oh, for real? We can do this. So he made it easier, but what they failed to believe is they're not him. They're not him. But here's the other thing. White privilege is alive and well. Alive and well. And because they have, and let's understand white privilege is that a group of people get privileges just because they were born white.
Yeah.
Me as a black mom, if I went into my school and wanted to advocate for my son, they're going to want to know, where's your husband? Where do you work? What kind of money you got? They're going to ask me a list of things. They're not going to believe anything I say. Now, I could be a white woman, a middle-aged white woman that goes to Starbucks and Panera as my job. I'm not questioned. I'm not questioned if I'm on drugs. I'm not questioned if my husband's on crack. I'm not questioned about that. Everything that I say is believed. I don't have to prove it to anyone. And that's America. They are so used to not having to prove anything. They don't have to explain why they should have the rights. I'm white. I was born white, so I can have what I want. I can take your land. I can take your family. I can take your money. Everything. I can take everything because I'm white. That's what it has been since the onset of time. Your ex-president just made it look like, he made it look easy for them. He made it look easy to get it because this clown, sorry, I don't mean to call him a clown, I really do. This clown was the president of the free world. So it made it easy for them to say, oh, if he can do it, now we don't have to hide. We don't have to pretend. I don't have to pretend like I like Hope when I really want to call her the N-word as soon as she leaves. Yeah. I don't have to pretend anymore. I can just say it to her face because I'm white.
Yeah. And it's the audacity of them to fly the Confederate flag in the Capitol building.
In the U.S. Capitol.
The audacity of them That's what really made me mad. The audacity of them to fly that
It's their
disgusting
privilege. Yeah.
and that hateful flag in the
Exactly.
Capitol.
I think Brother Hector made a comment about you get tired. And I think we as a people just got tired because, I mean, it could still be going on, but I think things would definitely be different this time, but we are going to have to stand up for our rights. But Hector also mentioned about being a Christian. So the next question is, how do you think we should handle racism and inequality as a Christian? Start, Sam.
I can start. Yeah. You know, I'm the Christian, saved, sanctified. I feel that, you know, like you said, dealing with racism, as Pastor would say, is a God thing. It's definitely a God thing, because there is nothing that a person or a human or a law or anyone can do to, so to speak, you know, uproot or change what may be not even consciously, but subliminally in your heart of hearts. You know, you can do it, don't get me wrong, and a person can do it, but more, I think it takes almost a spiritual reconciliation to active, just like any other, you know, predisposition or bad habit or drinking or smoking or fornication. You know, those types of things change, like, through God, like, mostly. You try your best, you know, you give it a good shot, you know, but God really is the one that you have to hand it over and say, you know, that's it.
We all have to, I guess, just stick together and make sure that we can't allow it to happen within ourselves and within how we treat each other, because, I mean, that's basically not what God wants. But we as Christians, we have to support each other and to make sure that, I guess, basically that we're there for each other, to make sure that it doesn't happen within us,
Exactly.
as far as being Christians.
Yeah, because we
I'm
say,
sure that there are some that are prejudiced and racism in the churches, but thank God that our churches.
right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And one thing that a lot of Christians need to stop doing is stop using religion as a justification to be racist. That's a lot of people do.
Yes.
You see a lot of the white, you see a lot of them.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the white conservatives, and all of them are very racist, and they try to hide behind God's word to justify that. And it makes absolutely no sense, because in the Bible, it does say love thy neighbor.
Yes.
Does it not? It definitely does. So it kind of upsets me, because it's like, how can you love thy neighbor when you're looking at my skin color and you're disputing hate towards me because I'm blacker, I'm darker than you. They're just hidden because of that, you know? And it just makes me mad, because yes, this person may be doing this, and yes, she may be doing that. But who are you to judge? Why do you have on God's shoes? Why are you're not sitting in the sky, you're not looking down at me, you know? And every time I say something, everybody wants to be like, oh, here she go, the aggressive black woman. But I'm not the angry black woman. And I am an angry black woman. I'm gonna say it. I'm an angry black woman, because throughout the schools, if you think about it, they taught us everything in the white man's favor. They praised Christopher Columbus, who was wrong. He came to our nation, and he stole the land from the Native Americans. He stole it, and we have the audacity to celebrate Christopher Columbus Day. Are you kidding me? I don't.
Yeah. Well, Hope, we just thank you for your fieriness and your boldness. Praise the Lord.
Bring it, girl.
I know. We have one more minute. Okay, well, there was one question I did want to get to. LeBron James, and he made a comment about being black in America. It was tough. So, no matter how much money you have, where you live, how smart you are, you're talking about Kamala Harris, that lady is smart.
Very.
No matter what, he says it's hard for an African American in America. So, D. Hector, I'm going to let you finish up with this question about how do you feel about that statement?
Obviously, it's accurate. It is very tough being an African American now. And quite frankly, for all of us, it has always been. It's very tough living in America when you're African American. I do comment that as Christians, we need to figure out a way out of this. And I think love is the answer. But I think love is not like Hope said, double, one side one way and another side a different way. I think love is the answer, and we have to figure out how we apply love where everybody is. And that includes our community. And quite frankly, the thing I have been saying a lot around this whole subject is white people, y'all need to talk to each other. You don't need to have me as your person. You all need to talk to each other and deal with this issue in your own communities, because that's where the opportunity is. So with all of this, I do believe that if God is love, and that's what the Bible says, we have what's required to deal with it. And what we have to do is figure out how to do it. And it requires us to deal with policy. All of the policies that are going on in this country, we need to deal with them. Local politics is very, very important. We need to get involved and be involved in what's happening to us. And I think it begins with the family. Somebody said that if you in your own house are not attentive to all that is going on around your house, you got a problem. And we have got to pay attention to that.
And we thank you for those comments. You brought up some wonderful points. So we thank you, Brother Hector, Brother Sam, Sister Lucinda, and Sister Patricia, and Sister Hope for this. And I, as the moderator, Sandra Bartell, have enjoyed being here with you. And so we've got to keep this conversation going.